Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Tuesday, July the 22nd, 2025. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Good week thus far. We're going to give people a chance to come in. I'm going to do a little, some last minute invites, as it were, or promotion, whatever. But of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. So hopefully, as I said, everybody's having a good week thus far. Um, let's see. I was watching, of course, some interesting cartoons earlier, um, including among those the final Captain the Kids cartoon that was produced by MGM, Mama's New Hat, and it was after that cartoon that the series got canceled. But here's the thing: as I was watching it, this is what I was thinking. Well, if they knew they were getting canceled, they went out with a bang. That much is for sure. You guys ever have a chance to check out that cartoon? The Captain and Kids, of course, MGM did Bailey did some cartoons based on Rudolph Dirk's comic strip there, which itself was somewhat of a parody of another one of his creations, the Katzenjammer Kids. So that's what we were finding out there. Of course, with Billy Bletcher and Martha Wentworth writing the voices of the Captain and Martha and Mama and all that. Billy Bletcher, who a lot of you probably would recognize his voice as Butch. Butch the Bulldog, who is a nemesis who was an early nemesis of Droopy. So Billy Bletcher, more or less, was a longtime voice actor for MGM. So worked with him quite a bit. Let's see. So we're coming up on 3 minutes now. So here's what's on tap for tonight. I do have one story I'm going to go over tonight. Maybe more depending on how fast we get through this story. So let's see. Alien Books levels up. Fresh logo, Valiant revivals, and Manga Magic in 2026. So we'll be doing that from Bleeding Fool. Doing that article. Plus, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up. I may do another story, or I may do it depending on how fast we get through that story. I might do another one, and then from there, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up. Get caught up on last night's Monday Night Raw, as well as looking ahead to tonight's NXT. And then we'll, of course, have This Day in Each History. I do need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back, but I will put some music on to entertain you guys while I'm done. And I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Anyways, as a friendly reminder, as always, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started with our article here? And then as soon as I said, depending on how fast I get through that, I might even do another article. I might try to go randomly pick another article to do. So let's get into this as soon as right. Alrighty, so here we go. Alien Book levels up. Fresh logo, Valiant revivals, and manga magic in 2026. Article by Chris Braley, published earlier today. All right, so here we go. As soon as I. A new era has dawned at Alien Books as the publisher unveiled a revised logo and plans to publish a range of new projects in 2026 ahead of this year's San Diego Comic Con. The cult favorite manga series, Battux, by Toriyama Takeda, and a new EXO Gold anthology series. EXO, as I understand it, EXO, like EXO Man of War and all that. So, um, will both factor heavily into the publisher's 2026 slate of releases. Alongside previously announced projects like Valiant Beyond and new Zorro comic series. Quote, it's been an exceptionally busy year here at Alien Books, unquote. Now, mind you, I've never heard of Alien Books before, so this is kind of interesting. um, you know, I don't know if they're an imprint of another company or if they're just kind of an offshoot or what have you. But I guess we'll find that out soon enough. Explains director, editor in chief Matthias um, Tamarchi. Quote, from beginning our new partnership with IDW Publishing to launching multiple successful crowdfunding projects on Kickstarter, teaming up with Zorro Productions, and continuing the revitalization of Valiant Comics with DMG Entertainment, we've grown fast and are reaching more readers than ever before. And we're not stopping anytime soon, unquote. Harbinger Classic Omnibus, the complete classic omnibus. The next series to be released as part of Alien's growing manga library, Battux, by mangaka Toriyama Takeda, is a fantasy story with sci-fi elements that follows Morgan Gray, a man who sold his organs to pay off a debt, whoa, and underwent an experiment to become a powerful cyborg. After being forced into servitude by the mob, Morgan meets a desperate lady named Lisa, and together they escape along with a briefcase full of stolen money and a baby. Oh boy, boy, they're really mixing things up, aren't they? Here, they're doing the old throw everything into a cauldron and see what bubbles out, right? The unlikely trio must survive a life on the run from dangerous criminals that are hunting them down. Hmm. Wow, quite interesting, to say the least. Hmm. Again, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let me see if more people like possibly signaled. Alrighty then. We continue on here with the article. Oh wait, somebody spanning across 4 volumes. Baddock's Volume 1 will arrive in fall 2026. Wow, so well over a year away, and be distributed to both the direct market and book markets by Penguin Random House as part of Alien's publishing partnership with IDW. Quote, it's a joy to be able to bring mangaka Toriyama Takeda's exceptional Baddocks series to a global audience, unquote, continued Tamarchi. Quote, we're always looking for new titles from creators on the rise, and Baddocks fits the bill. No pun intended. Okay. Uh, Here's some of the artwork in itself. Alien Books found its footing in the crowdfunding market this year by launching successful projects including, and smaller quotes here, iDragon, The Art of Eduardo Russo, Zorro Remastered Edition, and Harbinger Classic Omnibus. The next Valiant Comics project to launch um, on Kickstarter efforts will be a spiritual successor to 2024's Black, White, and Bloodshot series, and will star Arik of Dacia, Exo Man of War, Black, White, and Gold. A new version of Alien Book's logo will appear across the first issues of upcoming Valiant Beyond series Bloodshot and Tales of the Shadow Men, hitting comic shops in August, next month. There's Exo Man of War. Quote, I'm a big fan of the X-Files and the glitchy VHS aesthetic of the 80s and 90s, unquote, explains Tamarchi when discussing the new design. Quote, I wanted our logo to be something that calls back to an earlier era of media, where people still valued physical goods and shared them with friends. It's not a play for nostalgia, um, as much as it's a desire to stick out in a sea of overly polished and sterile logos that are everywhere these days, unquote. It does seem like a lot of sterilization is either going on or being attempted in entertainment these days, right? uh, People cross the border just trying to sterilize everything within the realm of entertainment. Anyways, as we continue on here, um, with a full slate of crowdfunding projects, relaunches, and licensed titles on deck for 2026, Tamarchi also teased an unannounced crossover project that will pit one of Valiant Comics' flagship characters against a mystery opponent from an iconic fighting game franchise. Yeah, I wonder what that could be. Some interesting scenarios here going on, I guess. Quote, I can't say anything else about this crossover or I'll get in trouble, unquote, joked Tamarchi. It's something very unexpected, but it also makes perfect sense for anyone who grew up in the 1990s as a fan of comics and video games to see these two brands collide, unquote. More details on this crossover project will be announced later this year. Check out their Kickstarter page here. So, anyways, so there we go with that. Let's see where are we at on time. Yeah, Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to see if I, considering we just made it to 1645 here, I'm gonna see what else we can find elsewhere. Let's see. Oh yeah, that Park Place. Let me see if I can find something here. All right, nothing really here, it looks like. So let me go on to MeTV Tunes. And again, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, actually, even before I leave here, let me check some of the more specific areas here. Okay, nothing really here. Again, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we'll try to answer the questions to the best. And I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, see right here. We got another new new article today from exploring the real places from Hanna-Barbera cartoons. That sounds like an interesting article. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at that? All right, let's see what this one's all about. For those of us who grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s, exploring the real places from Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Hear us out, Hanna-Barbera road trip. Article published today by MeTV Tunes. Now, from what I understand, too, I think there is a real like Hanna-Barbera park somewhere I think it's in Ohio or something like that. But anyways, welcome to Bedrock, population 2,500, and then we see, of course, the Scooby-Doo gang as well as Sky High Apartments for the Jetsons. So let's go. Let's see what they have to say here. All right, so actually, before I do that, I do need I once again need to step away from the computer, so I'll be right back. But I will put some music on for you guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyways, let's get into this article here. Um, right, the Hanna-Barbera universe is vast and ever expanding, with each cartoon having multiple towns and locations. Some Hanna-Barbera cartoons are based on real places. I have often wondered. I don't know about you guys, but I've often wondered what it would have been like because I grew up watching a lot of Hanna Barbera, particularly Yogi Bear. What if we actually had a chance to interact with some of the Hanna Barbera cartoons, had a chance to talk to Scooby or picnic in Jellystone with like Yogi Bear and Snagglepuss and a few others around. Wonder how that would have all panned out. And anyways, for example, locations for Johnny Quest are real life cities and countries like Baghdad and Tibet. Other Hanna-Barbera cartoons have super generic locations. Wally Gator lives in City Zoo, quote unquote. And I actually happened to watch the City Zoo Wally Gator episode yesterday, actually. And we know Magilla Gorilla lives in Mr. Peebles' pet shop. But the pet shop is just in, quote unquote, the city. Many Hanna-Barbera shows feature fictional locations based on real places, and we wanted to dig deeper and find out where the real Hanna-Barbera spots are. Let's take a tiny virtual road trip through the Hanna-Barbera hotspots. Sounds good to me. I don't know about you guys. First up, we've got Bubble Land, which is the home of Squidly Diddly, the squid. Squidly Diddly lives in Bubble Land, an aquatic amusement park based off of Marineland of the Pacific. Marineland was a real-life aquatic amusement park that Hanna-Barbera owned from the late 1970s until early 1980s, until it merged with SeaWorld. Wow, that would have been very interesting. Um, SeaWorld, which is based down in San Diego, as I recall. Jellystone Park. Yogi Bear. Now, I was always under the impression that Jellystone was based on Yellowstone Park. I'm sure we've all heard of Yellowstone Park. I always had the impression in the back of my head that Jellystone may have been based on Yellowstone. Let's see what they say here about that. Jellystone is based on the real Yellowstone National Park. right on the money, Mike. Which, like Jellystone, is home to grizzly bears and black bears. Bedrock, the Flintstones. Everybody's modern Stone Age family, right? While Bedrock doesn't have a specific reference location, it was meant to replicate an average 1960s American suburb, but for a caveman. Yeah, and I know we were reading an article about this. What was it, a couple weeks ago or so, where they were talking about, well, is are the Flintstones really supposed to be in the past and not in the future? Like some people made the argument that maybe the Flintstones is set more in a post-apocalyptic world because you have basically Stone Age versions of what we consider like modern conveniences, like televisions and washers, and you'd have like birds acting as spinners for washing machines and dishwashers and all that. Let's see. And again, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything crosses your mind or anything can interest here. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Number 4, Orbit City, the Jetsons. It is never explicitly stated where Orbit City is located. Many of the buildings exhibit the Googie style of the Seattle Space Needle, leading some fans to speculate that it's based on a futuristic up in the sky vision of Seattle. Hmm. Las Vegas, the Jetsons. Both the Jetsons and the Flintstones have their own version of Las Vegas, Las Vegas, and Rock Vegas. In the Jetsons, each casino is a satellite. So yeah, so you can go to you go satellite to satellite, for a casino to pull pull the one man bandit's arm. Coolsville, Scooby Doo. Coolsville is based in Southern California. Like some of the other places on the list, the town evolved with the cartoon, but Joe Ruby and Ken Spears originally envisioned it to be Laguna Beach, California. Hmm. Hoagie's Alley, Top Cat. Top Cat, the unbelievable Top Cat, leader of the gang. He's a pip, he's a hoop, he's a championship. He's the most tip top, Top Cat. Hoagie's Alley, Top Cat. According to the original series, Top Cat's home, Hoagie's Alley, is meant to be a random alley in Manhattan, and all the cats have varying New York accents. The show was also partially inspired by the Bowery Boys films, which are also based in the. Now, what you guys have to remember too, and you guys know we've been looking at this back, when we, of course, been doing the historical comic retrospect. I can tell you this, from watching a lot of the Golden Age cartoons as well. A lot of the settings were actually based more in New York, if anything else. You know, um, that's at least the impression I got. Like a lot of the Popeye cartoons, a lot of the city-based stuff, throughout the 30s, 40s, and 50s was based in New York because a lot of the television stations were originally in New York. In fact, it wasn't until 1947 when the first television station west of the Mississippi um, started operating in LA, KTLA, and I think it was January 1947. Now, KTLA was the first television station west of the Mississippi to start operating back in January 1947. So let's see. But the TV movie Top Cats and the Beverly Hills Cats plays Hoagie's Alley in Beverly Hills, which would also kind of make sense in some ways because the way Top Cat acts, even though he's an alley cat, he almost acts like he's kind of a cut above everybody. Kind of like he's more in line with the with the upper members of society, as it were. Let's see. All the Flintstones locations. The Flintstones visit a lot of places that are caveman versions of real places. They visit Holly Rock, which is our version of Hollywood, Arkenstone, Arkansas, Texarock, Texas, where I think one of his great uncles is from, and Rocksylvania, Transylvania. Watch House of Hanna-Barbera on MeTV Tunes, weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, and 10 a.m. Pacific. Alrighty then. Let's see. Yeah, it was all right. So I think I'm going to move on now to the wrestling wrap up here. Um, And we do have some things to go over. As I said, like last night's last night's Monday Night Raw, as well as more matches for SummerSlam were announced last night. Um, and then and then let's see, last night's Monday Night Raw, tonight's NXT. Catch up on some other news as well. So the first piece of news I will mention is Elena Black, who was formerly known as Cora Jade in the WWE, has decided to take a break from wrestling at least through the end of the year here. I guess to pursue other interests, as it were. Knowing, basically her part of it too is, and she acknowledged that it was to also take care of her mental health, as it were. So so that's pretty much we all got. That's all we got from that. So now moving on to last night's Monday Night Raw. The show opened up with a confrontation between CM Punk and World Heavyweight Champion Gunther, as they had kind of a back and forth as they'll be meeting each other at SummerSlam this year, as CM Punk looks to become the World Heavyweight Champion by defeating Gunther. Gunther basically told him that he feels his ego is justified because he doesn't need the support of the fans to stroke his ego, whereas he claims that CM Punk does. So I guess we'll just wait and see what happens with all that. And then we get into the first match of the evening, a battle of two of the biggest bruisers in the WWE, as Sheamus defeated Rusev. So you got Celtic Warrior defeating Rusev Day, as it were. A battle of two big, powerful Europeans looking to further establish themselves as Rusev had got hold of the shillelagh, was going to use it on Sheamus, and while the ref had his back turned, Sheamus hit Rusev with a brogue kick, leading to the victory. The second match saw a triple threat number one contendership match for the WWE World Tag Team titles. LWO duo of Cruz de la Torre and Joaquin Wilde, with, of course, Dragon Lee in their corner, defeated the New Day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and American-made Brutus and Julius Creed with Ivy Nile. Now, the El Grande Americano came down to ringside, only for the Creed brothers to chase him away, to kind of shoo him away, as it were, knowing that he wasn't the same El Grande Americano that they knew. But it led to De La Torre and Wilde getting the victory on the New Day, and also saw, which was considered an upset considering the LWO hasn't had much success of late. The LWO at this point will now be the next in line to get a shot at World Tag Team Champions, Judgment Day's Finn Balor and JD McDonough. In a match for the WWE Women's Tag Team title, the other members of the Judgment Day, the female members, Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, who had Dominic Mysterio in their corner, defeated Bayley and Lyra Valkyria with some help by a timely distraction from Becky Lynch, who confronted Lyra before a match for the women's tag titles, as they have a match coming up at SummerSlam for the women's Intercontinental title, in which they both put something up on the line. as Becky challenged Lyra to put her chances to challenge for the Intercontinental title up, for at least as long as Becky was holding it, and Lyra countered by challenging Becky to make it a no DQ, no count out, no DQ. There must be a winner type match. So coming up at SummerSlam, there'll be for the women's Intercontinental title. Becky Lynch will defend against Lyra Valkyria, in which if Lyra wins, she wins the title. And if Becky wins, Lyra cannot challenge for the Intercontinental Championship again until basically while Becky is holding it. So they got that going there. And then Becky asked for a handshake. Lyra gonna give it to her, and then Becky was gonna try to attack Lyra. She claimed, well, yeah, why don't you show you're honorable and shake my hand? Let's shake on it. And of course, Becky tried to sucker punch, as it were, Lyra, but Lyra was ready for her, delivered Becky's own move, the manhandle slam, or the Uranagi slam, as it were, which of course led to Becky's later interference in the tag team title match. So, also, speaking of Judgment Day stuff going on, it's been signed that AJ Styles will be challenging Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental, for the men's Intercontinental title, coming up at SummerSlam as well. So you have the Phenomenal One versus Dirty Dom of the Judgment Day. Who will come out on top? I guess we'll wait and see. Let's see now. And then we also had another rivalry match in which Karrion Kross defeated Sami Zayn. Kross and his valet Scarlett, taking advantage of Sami Zayn's injured ribs, as it were. Basically hitting him with a pipe when the ref wasn't looking, and then getting the pin afterwards. And then the main event saw and ended in no contest as Io Sky, who recently lost the World Heavyweight title to Naomi back at Evolution, versus Stephanie Vercure, who will be taking on, who has a guaranteed women's world title shot at Clash in Paris. Went to a no contest as Chelsea Green, her secret Herverse, and Naomi all interfered in the match. They all interfered in the match. Of course, Chelsea Green and the secret Herverse trying to take out Stephanie Vercure, while of course Naomi was trying to take out Io Sky and Stephanie Vercure, because as it now states, there's a triple threat match for the women's world title coming up at SummerSlam once again between champion Naomi and former champions Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. After Rhea made the save, you had the three of them, Stephanie Vercure, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky, all standing tall in the ring. And then after the main event, of course, you had one last segment in which Roman Reigns confronted Paul Heyman and of course the two remaining members of their faction, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, as they then tried to jump Reigns, Jay Uso came out to save his cousin for them to for what they're trying to set up a tag team match between Reigns and Uso and Breaker and Reed. So now moving on to tonight's NXT, as of course, obviously the fallout from NXT's Great American Bash and TNA's Slammiversary, what we felt tonight, as of course Trick Williams and JC Jane will most likely be making a triumphant entry into the event. As of course, Trick Williams coming off of a successful title defense against Mike Santana and Joe Hendry, which has a lot of TNA fans up in arms. And JC Jane becoming a double champion, becoming not only the NXT Women's Champion, but also TNA Knockout, which again, even more pours salt in the wound of TNA. So coming from the 713 Music Hall in Houston, Texas, with Booker T, Corey Graves, and Vic Joseph on commentary on the CW. Tonight's show will see Ricky Saints taking on Jasper Troy, Blake Monroe taking on Ren Sinclair of No Quarter Cat Crew, a triple threat match for the WWE NXT title, Obafemi taking on Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. So there we have that. So now we're done with the wrestling wrap up now. I all caught up on a lot of the wrestling news. With that being said, why don't we go with today being Tuesday, July the 22nd, 2025. Let's take a look back at this day in Neat's history. So, first off, I'd actually like to wish a happy 60th birthday to Shawn Michaels. So, WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels. Turned 60 today. Let's see. All right. Born Michael Shawn Hickenbottom, better known by his ring name Shawn Michaels, is an American retired professional wrestler, currently signed to World Wrestling, where he is a coach and producer for NXT. So a happy 60th birthday to WWE Hall of Famer, two-time Hall of Famer, Shawn Michaels. Now, as we get ready to move ahead to our next time frame, which is 1995, on this date in the year 1995, 30 years ago today. 30 years ago today. Triangle Staff's Kazu and Yasu Hirotanjo premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 1995. So 30 years ago today, Triangle Staff's Kazu and Yasu Hirotanjo premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 1995. Let's see now. Moving ahead to the year, let's see here. 2010, which one is 2015? And 2015. All right. So premiering. Oh, wait. So now we move ahead to the year 2010. On this date in the year 2010, which was, of course, 15 years ago today, premiering on Comedy Central, of course, the 6th episode of the 6th season of Futurama, Lethal Inspection, premiered on Comedy Central on this date back in 2010. In the episode, Bender learns that he suffers from a terminal manufacturing defect, effectively rendering him mortal. Bender must cope with his newfound mortality and enlist Hermes Conrad's help to track down the mysterious quality inspector number 5, whom he blames for allowing him to enter the world only to die. So, there you go. So, Lethal Inspection, the 6th episode of the 6th season of Futurama, premiered on Comedy Central on this date back in 2010, 15 years ago. And finally, on this date in 2015, which was 10 years ago today, this day 10 years ago today, in the year 2015, going on sale on DC Digital, the 65th issue of the 65th issue of the Batman 66 digital comic series went on sale on its date back in 2015. Sold for 99 cents with 20 pages. Of course, Batman 66, both the digital and the hard version, were based on the 1960s Batman live action show. Title, it was a 10-pager. The title of the story was Batman's Aim Must Not Miss, as written by Jeff Parker with art by Jesse Ham. Wes Abbott did the lettering and the coloring done by Kelly Fitzpatrick. So on this date, 10 years ago today, the 65th issue of the digital version of Batman 66 went on sale on this date back in 2015. So with that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here with more Niche News tomorrow, of course. And this Sunday, don't forget, I'll be joined by Rick Piper. We'll be looking back to comics that went on sale in June of 1940, focusing in on Harvey. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.